I am lost, and I'm going to wrestle Vince. And he has tears in his eyes. He said, I just want you to know this is going to be one of the coolest moments of my life to wrestle you.
WWE legends share the most epic Ric Flair stories you never heard before. August 2017, a hospital in Atlanta. Ric Flair is dying. Not wrestling dying, not storyline dying. Actually dying. His intestine has ruptured inside his body. The contents spill into his bloodstream. Sepsis sets in. That is blood poisoning. It spreads through his entire system like wildfire. One organ fails, then another. His kidneys shut down completely. They stop filtering his blood. Toxins build up. His heart cannot pump properly. Respiratory heart failure. His lungs struggle for oxygen. His body is shutting down piece by piece. Doctors make a decision. They put him in a medically induced coma. This is not sleep. This is a controlled shutdown of his brain to let his body try to heal. 10 days. He lies there for 10 full days, unconscious, wired to machines. His family gathers around the bed. His daughter Charlotte is there. She is a wrestler too. She knows how tough her father is. But this is different. The doctors pull the family aside. They give them the numbers. The survival rate is 20%, 1 in 5. Those are terrible odds. The man who survived a plane crash, 2 separate lightning strikes, international hostage situations, and 5 decades of complete chaos is finally facing something he cannot talk his way out of, cannot charm his way past, cannot buy his way through. This is the moment when the Nature Boy myth nearly ended for good. But to understand why this moment matters, you need to know the real stories. Not the sanitized versions, not the fun locker room tales told on podcasts, the actual events, the ones that built the legend, the ones that cost people their lives, the ones that proved the myth was real, but so was the damage. If you are enjoying this, use the hype feature and give hype to the video. It really helps. Ric Flair was not just a wrestler. He was a walking survival story wrapped in expensive robes and bad decisions. The tales are famous in wrestling circles. Everyone knows about the drinking, the wild spending, the parties that lasted multiple days without sleep. But what people miss is the truth underneath the legend. These were not just wild nights out. These were not harmless fun. These were choices, deliberate, reckless choices. And sometimes those choices killed people who got too close to the flame. The legend was built on endurance, absolutely. Flair had the stamina of 10 normal men, but it was also built on wreckage, human wreckage, financial wreckage, physical wreckage. And the wreckage kept piling up year after year whilst everyone stood back and cheered for more. The survival stories start early, 1975, Wilmington, North Carolina. Flair is traveling between territories. He is on a small commuter plane, nothing fancy, just transport to the next town, the next match, the next payday. Suddenly, the plane goes down. Mechanical failure. It crashes hard. When they pull Flair from the wreckage, the damage is catastrophic. His back is broken in 3 places, 3 separate fractures in his spine. The doctors tell him his wrestling career is over before it really began. He will be lucky to walk normally again. Forget about taking bumps in a ring, but Flair does recover, slowly, painfully, and when he returns to wrestling, everything changes. He cannot rely on power moves anymore. His back will not allow it. So he evolves. He becomes a technical wrestler, a master craftsman, all mat work, precision holds, selling like his life depends on it. The crash forces him to become the wrestler that makes him a legend. Every fan knows this story. It is Wrestling History 101. But that crash was just the opening chapter. Just the first time the universe tried to kill Ric Flair. The sky was not done with him yet. Not even close. It tried to kill him twice more in the next decade. And the second attempt succeeded. Just not on Flair himself. That is where the story gets dark. 1982, Richmond, Virginia. Flair is the NWA World Heavyweight Champion now. That means he defends the belt in a different territory almost every single night. The travel schedule is brutal. Small commuter flights, regional airports, rapid connections. No rest, just constant movement. He lands in Richmond. There is probably a title defense scheduled that night at the Richmond Coliseum against Ricky Steamboat. But he never makes it to the venue the normal way because the weather turns lethal, the storm is severe, active electrical activity everywhere, thunder, lightning, heavy rain. Flair gets off the aircraft. He sees the rain, standard instinct. He opens an umbrella. Nothing special, just a regular umbrella with a metal tip. That metal tip is important. Remember that detail. He walks maybe 10 feet from the plane, 15 feet maximum. Just started his walk to the terminal. Then the sky explodes. A lightning bolt strikes the metal ferrule at the tip of his umbrella. Direct hit. The force is absolutely massive. The electricity does not travel down through the umbrella shaft and into Flair's body. That is what should happen. That would kill him instantly. Fry him where he stands, but it does not. The charge bounces, it arcs off the metal. The umbrella acts like a lightning rod, but not a conductor. The force of the strike rips the umbrella from Flair's hand. It shoots nearly 50 feet into the air, just flies away like a missile. Flair stands there, completely frozen. He feels the pressure wave, the concussive boom, the heat, but the electricity does not touch him. He is unharmed, not even singed, but the energy has to go somewhere. Electricity always finds a path to ground, and in this case, the path is the man walking about 5 feet directly behind Flair. The lightning bolt that bounced off Flair's umbrella hits this poor man, strikes him directly in the eye, the most vulnerable point. The bolt goes straight into his brain. He dies instantly, right there on the wet tarmac, drops like a puppet with cut strings. Flair cannot move. He just stands there staring at the body, a man he does not know, a fellow passenger, maybe going home to family, maybe traveling for work, now dead, killed by lightning that was meant for Flair. One more step forward and Flair would have been in that exact spot. One less step and the man would have lived. The randomness of it is terrifying. Later, Flair says it scared him to death. That moment froze him, paralyzed him. Airport personnel rushed to the scene, chaos everywhere. But the man is already gone. Nothing anyone can do. In the aftermath, Flair thinks about the implications. He wonders about the lawsuit. Who is responsible when lightning kills someone? The airport? The airline? God? He notices something else too. In the years following this incident and others like it, steel-tipped umbrellas disappear from the consumer market. Manufacturers switch to plastic and fiberglass tips. Flair speculates this is directly because of liability concerns. Umbrellas became weapons, conductors of death. But in Flair's mind, this event solidifies something dangerous. He starts to believe he is special, protected, chosen. The man behind him died. Flair walked away untouched. That is not luck. That is destiny. At least that is what Flair tells himself. And that belief, that sense of invincibility, that becomes the fuel for everything that follows. If God cannot kill you with a direct lightning strike, why would you ever show restraint? 4 years pass, 1986. Flair is on yet another small aircraft, a Piper Seneca II, twin-engine, light, fast, necessary for the insane travel demands of being world champion. He is flying back from 4th of July festival events, heading to the next territory, the next match, always moving, never stopping. Then another storm rolls in. This one is even worse than Richmond. Severe thunderstorm cell, the kind pilots try to avoid, but they are in the air already. No choice but to push through. Lightning strikes the plane, not near it, not around it. Direct hit on the aircraft. A Piper Seneca II is not a commercial jet. It is a small, light aircraft. When lightning hits it, the plane destabilizes violently. The energy transfer is massive. The wind shear from the storm makes it worse. The aircraft loses control. Flair and the other passengers feel the plane flip completely. It inverts, turns upside down in midair. The pilot somehow keeps his composure, shows immense skill under impossible pressure. He fights the controls, rights the aircraft, brings it back to level flight. They land safely. Everyone walks away. But the psychological damage is done. Between 1975 and 1986, Flair survives 3 separate aerial disasters. A crash that breaks his back. A lightning strike that kills the man behind him. A mid-air inversion that should have sent them spiraling into the ground. 3 times the sky tries to claim him. 3 times he walks away. Most people would develop a fear of flying, would drive everywhere, take trains, anything but get back on a plane. Flair does the opposite. He doubles down. He sees these events as confirmation, proof of his status. He is the chosen one. Death cannot touch him. And in the wrestling locker room, which is filled with superstitious men, Flair becomes myth. He is the guy who cannot be killed, not by plane crashes, not by literal acts of God. So if he can survive that, what is a 60-minute wrestling match? What is a 12-hour drinking session? Nothing. Just another day. That mindset is what makes the next chapter possible and deadly. Now we transition from survival to lifestyle. The Nature Boy character was built on a very specific image. Limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing. Those are the catchphrases. Everyone knows them. Audiences thought they were promotional hyperbole, marketing language, exaggeration for effect. They were not. Travel logs from the era prove it. Witness testimonies confirm it. Flair lived those words literally every single day. The lifestyle was a grueling test of physical endurance. It required elite conditioning just to survive. And tragically, some people did not survive it. The 4 horsemen are formed. Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, Barry Windham at one point, Ole Anderson at another. These are the top heels in the National Wrestling Alliance. The bad guys everyone loves to hate. They travel together, party together, live the gimmick together. And the gimmick is excess. Total, unapologetic excess. One incident in Baltimore shows the sheer scale of their celebrity and the complete inability to separate performance from reality. They are on live television. World Championship Wrestling. This is broadcast on TBS. National coverage. Millions watching. During the broadcast, Flair does something insane. scene. He breaks the fourth wall of privacy, not the wrestling fourth wall, the real one. He tells the entire viewing audience exactly where they are staying, the Baltimore Marriott, penthouse suite. He gives the specific location. Then he issues an invitation, a public televised cattle call. He invites women to come to the hotel, but not just any women, ages 18 to 28. Very specific age range. And one explicit rule, no husbands, no boyfriends. This is broadcast to millions of homes. The response is absolute chaos. Sociological phenomenon. When Flair and the Horsemen arrive at the hotel later, the scene is pandemonium. The lobby is gridlock, packed wall to wall. Flair later recalls having to physically fight his way through the crowd. Not wrestling fight, literally pushing through bodies. Reports from hotel staff and wrestlers estimate over 300 women showed up. Think about that number. 300 women at a hotel. Because 4 wrestlers told them to come on television. The hallways are packed. The elevator is jammed. The penthouse suite is overflowing. Bodies everywhere. The party begins, and it does not stop. It goes all night. Flair says it lasted until 8 in the morning. That is at minimum 10 hours, possibly 12, depending on when they started. Now consider the context. Flair has just wrestled that evening. Wrestling at that level is extreme physical exertion. A main event might be 20 minutes, might be 45 minutes, sometimes a full hour. You are taking bumps, throwing chops, sprinting, climbing ropes, selling. Your heart rate is elevated the entire time. Your body is in survival mode. A normal person would wrestle, eat, and collapse into bed. Flair wrestles, then immediately launches into 10 to 12 hours of heavy drinking, socializing, and partying. Constant engagement, no rest, no sleep. The alcohol consumption alone would put most people in hospital, but he maintains, keeps going, stays on his feet, stays charismatic. Then at 8 in the morning, when normal people are waking up for work, Flair finally wraps up. He gets maybe 2 hours of sleep if he is lucky. Then it is time to travel, get on a plane or in a car, head to the next territory, the next match, the next town, and he does it all again, the exact same routine. Flair compares their level of fame at this time to the biggest names in music history. He says the 4 horsemen were like the Beatles, Elvis, and the Rolling Stones all wrapped into one package. That is not ego talking. That is documented reality in wrestling markets. The response at the Baltimore Marriott proves it, and Flair admits he started doing it everywhere. This was not a one-time stunt. This became standard operating procedure. Every major city, every territory, announce the hotel, invite the women, party until dawn, repeat, forever. Now here is the critical point. Wrestlers are built for this punishment. Their bodies adapt to extreme conditions. They train to take physical abuse. They develop metabolisms that can process incredible volumes of alcohol and still function. They live in a state of controlled chaos. It is their normal. But when normal people enter this world, when civilians try to keep pace, the results can be tragic. The story of Dave the limo driver is the proof, and it is told without guilt, without remorse. It is told as a badge of honor, and that is the most disturbing part. Chicago, major wrestling market, important territory for both the AWA and NWA. The 4 horsemen are in town for a series of shows. They hire a limousine for the duration of their stay. This is standard practice. You need transport from the arena to the nightclubs, from the clubs to the after parties, from the parties back to the hotel. The driver assigned to them is a man named Dave. Friendly guy, professional, just doing his job, trying to make a living, trying to earn tips from famous wrestlers. His job description is simple. Drive them where they need to go. Wait while they are inside. Be available when they are ready to leave. Except the horsemen never leave. The party never stops. It is not arena, club, hotel. It is arena, club, another party, another location, back to the club, then somewhere else, then finally back to the hotel. But even at the hotel, they keep going, and Dave is on call the entire time. Flair details this in his autobiography. He states plainly that Dave drove them around for 3 straight days of nonstop partying. 3 days. That is 72 hours. Do the math on that. 72 hours without proper sleep. Maybe Dave catches a nap in the limo while they are inside a club. Maybe 20 minutes here and there, but he has to stay alert, has to be ready to drive, cannot really rest, cannot go home. The horsemen keep calling him, keep needing transport, and Dave keeps showing up because that is his job, and because they are paying well, and because you do not say no to the 4 horsemen. The tour eventually ends. The horsemen leave Chicago, move on to the next territory, next town, next series of matches. Dave can finally go home, finally rest, get proper sleep, recover from 3 days of madness, except he does not recover. The next day after the horsemen leave, they receive a phone call. The news is devastating. Dave is dead. Fatal heart attack. Died in his sleep at home. His heart just gave out. Flair makes the connection immediately. In his autobiography, he states it directly. He links Dave's death to the lifestyle. Says Dave died from sheer exhaustion, trying to stay awake for 3 straight days. Poor Dave had been driving them around nonstop, and then his heart failed. Now here's the critical thing. The way Flair tells this story, there is no deep guilt guilt, no moment of realization that maybe they pushed too far, no questioning whether they should have let the man rest. Instead, it is told as proof of how intensely they lived, so hard, so fast, so extreme that it literally killed a normal man who tried to keep pace. This is the survival of the fittest mentality, the wrestler's code. If you cannot hang, you die. Simple as that. But Dave was not a wrestler. Dave was not conditioned for this. Dave was a limo driver, a civilian, a regular human being with a regular heart and regular limits. And he died in the blast zone of Ric Flair's lifestyle. Collateral damage, a body left behind. And the story gets told and retold in locker rooms. Not as a tragedy, as a legend, as proof that the Horsemen were the real deal. That is what makes it so dark. The lack of reflection, the pride in the wreckage, now the drinking. This is where the numbers become almost incomprehensible. For decades, the rumors circulated in wrestling circles. Stories about how much Flair drank, tales of marathon sessions, bottles emptied, bar tabs that bankrupted normal people. But they were just stories, exaggerations, wrestling hyperbole, except they were not. After the 2017 health crisis, when Flair is recovering and forced to confront his mortality, he confirms the numbers publicly. And the numbers are staggering, medically terrifying. Flair admits to consuming between 3,700 and 4,000 calories worth of alcohol every single day. Not on party nights, not on special occasions, every day. He equates this calorie count to approximately 20 drinks per day. Think about that for a moment. 20 drinks, not 20 drinks in a week, 20 drinks in a single day, every day, for years. The substance of choice is vodka primarily, sometimes gin, often mixed with just a splash of cranberry juice for flavor, but mostly straight spirits. High-proof alcohol going directly into his system day after day after day. The routine Flair describes is very specific. He has rules, boundaries, or at least he tells himself he does. He insists he never drinks before a match. Never. That is the line he will not cross. The performance is sacred. You do not go into the ring impaired. That is how people get hurt. That is how you ruin your reputation. So Flair wrestles sober, completely sober, takes every bump, executes every move, sells every strike. Then the bell rings, the match ends, and the window opens. The drinking window is 11 at night until 4 in the morning. 5 solid hours of consumption, sometimes more if the match ends earlier, sometimes extending into travel time. He drinks on planes, drinks in cars, drinks in hotel rooms, drinks in bars and clubs and after parties. The alcohol flows constantly during this window. 20 drinks across 5 hours is 4 drinks per hour. 1 drink every 15 minutes, constant intake, never slowing down, never stopping. This is not casual social drinking. This is systematic alcohol consumption, a routine, a habit, an addiction that is fully taking control. Now do the math over time. 20 drinks per day, over a conservative estimate of 20 years of this lifestyle. That is 7,300 days. Multiply 20 drinks times 7,300 days. The number is 146,000 alcoholic drinks, nearly 150,000 drinks over 2 decades. That is not a typo. That is the actual estimated consumption. This level of intake destroys livers in normal humans. The liver processes alcohol into toxic byproducts. Those byproducts cause inflammation, cirrhosis, scarring, failure. Kidneys shut down trying to filter the poison. Blood pressure spikes. The heart struggles to pump blood through damaged vessels. For most people, this volume of drinking causes total organ failure within a few years, 5 years maximum. Flair does it for 20 years. And during those same 20 years, he maintains a physique that allows him to wrestle at the absolute highest level. He works hour-long matches against Sting, Broadway draws that go the full 60 minutes, against Ricky Steamboat, against Dusty Rhodes, against Harley Race. These are not short squash matches. These are marathon technical classics. He is running, bumping, climbing turnbuckles, executing perfect figure 4 leg locks, selling like his career depends on it, all whilst processing 20 drinks worth of alcohol every single night. His body should not function. The human liver should give out. The kidneys should fail. The heart should stop. But somehow, Flair's body keeps going. This is perhaps the most unbelievable aspect of the entire myth. Not the championship reigns, not the legendary matches, not the promos, the physiology, the biological resilience required to drink 146,000 alcoholic beverages and still perform world-class athletic feats. It defies medical science, but here is the truth that gets lost in the awe. This is not strength. This is not something to admire. This is slow, methodical self-destruction. This is a man poisoning himself deliberately every single day for 20 years. And everyone around him watches it happen. Locker room, management, fans, they all watch. And they call it epic. They call it legendary. They tell the stories with pride. But what it actually is, underneath all the myth-making, is a man harming himself whilst everyone applauds. The spending matches the drinking in terms years of sheer recklessness. Economic irrationality taken to levels that make no sense. Flair operates under a specific philosophy. To draw money in wrestling, you have to look like money. You have to be money. The World Championship belt means nothing if the champion looks broke. So Flair spends. Spends on custom robes that cost thousands of dollars each. Spends on alligator shoes. Spends on Rolex watches. Spends on limousines even when he cannot afford them. The gimmick is not just performance. The gimmick is lifestyle. And that lifestyle requires constant financial bleeding. The story of the Las Vegas fur coats shows his philosophy at its most absurd and most tragic. 1985, the Great American Bash Tour. This is one of the most successful wrestling loops in the history of Jim Crockett Promotions. Every show sells out. Every town is packed. The tour makes huge money for the promotion. And Flair is the centerpiece, the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, the draw, the star. The show stops in Las Vegas, Nevada. The crew stays at the Tropicana Hotel. Fancy place, right on the Strip. Vegas is the perfect playground for Flair. The city never sleeps, neither does he. 24-hour casinos, 24-hour bars, 24-hour shopping. Everything is open. Everything is available. For a man with insomnia and unlimited bad judgment, it is paradise. Late one night, Flair is heavily intoxicated, not just tipsy, not just buzzed, properly drunk. In this state, he decides his wardrobe needs an upgrade. His robes are good, but not good enough. He needs something more, something that screams wealth and power. He finds a high-end furrier. These shops cater to high rollers, celebrities, people with more money than sense. They probably open specifically for Flair. VIP treatment, private showing, bring out the best merchandise. Flair sees 2 custom fur coats, beautiful craftsmanship, expensive materials, tailored fit. He does not just buy one, he buys both. Total cost is $40,000. Now let's put that in perspective. In 1985, $40,000 is an enormous sum. Adjust for inflation to $24. That same purchase equals approximately $115,000. For 2 coats, that is a down payment on a house, that is a luxury car, that is a year of college tuition, that is life-changing money for most people. Flair spends it in one drunken shopping trip on fur coats. The next morning arrives. Hangover sets in. Reality crashes down. Flair wakes up and remembers what he did. He looks at the coats, starts thinking clearly for the first time since buying them. He lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. The climate there is temperate, mild winters. You do not need heavy fur coats. Maybe a few days a year. Maybe. He also travels constantly, living out of suitcases, moving from territory to territory. Fur coats are not practical for that lifestyle. They are bulky, heavy, difficult to pack. They serve no functional purpose for a traveling wrestler. Someone, probably a friend or fellow wrestler, suggests the obvious solution. Return them, get the money back, cut the losses. It is a reasonable suggestion, a smart financial decision. But Flair refuses. His exact words become legendary in wrestling circles. The Nature Boy does not do returns. Full stop. End of discussion. Returning the coats would be admitting a mistake. It would show weakness. It would demonstrate that he cannot afford to make those mistakes. It would break the character. The Nature Boy is rich. The Nature Boy makes impulse purchases. The Nature Boy never has regrets. So the coats stay. According to accounts, Flair never wears those coats. Not once. They hang in his wardrobe. $40,000 worth of fur-gathering dust. Never used. Never needed. Just sitting there as proof that he bought them. This is the economic trap of the gimmick. Flair has to spend the money to prove he is the character, which means he can never actually accumulate wealth. Every dollar he earns gets funneled back into maintaining the image. The robes, the shoes, the watches, the fur coats, the bar tabs, the limo rides. It all goes out as fast as it comes in. The persona becomes a prison. He is trapped inside the character. Cannot escape. Cannot save money. Cannot plan for the future. Must spend to maintain the myth. And the myth demands he stay broke whilst looking rich. But Flair does not just live this destructive lifestyle himself. He actively recruits others into it. He teaches the next generation to follow the same path, to make the same mistakes, to fall into the same trap. And his most famous convert is John Cena. The corruption of John Cena is a perfect case study in how Flair's influence spreads beyond his own career, how the damage multiplies. John Cena enters WWE in the early 2000s. His character is called the Prototype. It fits him perfectly. He is clean-cut, disciplined, military-style bodybuilding routine, strict diet, no vices, no drinking, no partying. He is the opposite of the 1980s generation. He represents a new era, professionalism, modern training methods, taking the business seriously without destroying yourself in the process. He is everything Flair is not. Flair sees this and it bothers him, not out of malice, out of genuine belief. Flair views Cena as the heir to the wrestling business, the next top guy, the future world champion. And in Flair's mind, to be the man, you have to act like the man. You have to bond with the locker room. You have to pay your dues socially. That means drinking with the boys after shows. That means being one of the crew. Cena's discipline and refusal to participate looks like arrogance. distance. Looks like separation, looks wrong. So Flair takes it upon himself to fix this problem. He pulls Cena aside, has a conversation, explains the unwritten rules. To be the man, you drink with the boys. Simple as that. Cena resists at first. He has his routine, his system. It works for him, but Flair is persistent, and Flair is a legend. When Ric Flair tells you something about the wrestling business, you listen. Eventually, Cena gives in, agrees to try it, and Flair wastes no time proving his point. The Ritz Hotel incident is the most famous example of Flair's mentorship. WWE tours the United Kingdom, multiple cities, multiple shows. Flair and Cena are staying at the Ritz Hotel in London. This is one of the most prestigious hotels in the world. Royalty stays there. Celebrities, wealthy elite. The Ritz is elegance and tradition. High tea is a famous ritual. 4 in the afternoon, proper china, scones, sandwiches. Tea service, very civilized. Flair invites Cena for high tea. Cena agrees, probably thinks it is a genuine cultural experience, a chance to see how the legend operates in formal settings. They meet at 4 p.m. as scheduled. Tea is served, but tea is not the real agenda. Flair has other plans. What begins as a civilized tea service transforms rapidly into an all-night drinking marathon. The tea gets replaced with alcohol. Hours pass. 4 p.m. becomes 8 p.m. 8 becomes midnight. Midnight becomes 4 a.m. Cena later describes the experience with a mix of awe and terror. He says Flair has so much energy, a tremendous lust for life, infectious enthusiasm that pulls you along whether you want to go or not. The bar tab from that night, in that tour in general, becomes locker room folklore. Rumors spread. Some accounts put the total tour spending in the tens of thousands. Money flowing like water. Flair picking up every check, every tab, every bill, teaching Cena the code. The champion pays for everyone. Keep the locker room fed, keep them drunk, keep them loyal. It is how you maintain your position at the top. It is tradition. It is how things have always been done. Cena learns the lesson. The generational torch of the bar tab passes from Flair to Cena, and Cena carries it forward into his own career. Becomes known for picking up tabs, taking care of the crew, following the code. But here's the question nobody asks. Is this actually good? Is this tradition worth preserving? Or is it just programming the next generation to make the same financial mistakes? To trap themselves in the same cycle of earning and spending and staying broke whilst looking rich? Flair does not teach Cena how to invest, how to save, how to build generational wealth. He teaches him how to spend, how to drink, how to maintain a character at the expense of personal well-being. That is the real corruption. Not just one night of drinking, but the mindset, the philosophy, the code that keeps everyone trapped. Now the international incidents. The nature boy travels the world. Sometimes he ends up in places where the violence is real, where contracts mean nothing, where survival depends on quick thinking and luck. 1982, Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. Flair defends the NWA World Heavyweight Championship against Jack Veneno. Veneno is a national hero, not just famous, revered, like a religious figure. The stadium is packed, over 14,000 fans. But here is the difference. The ringside area is lined with military police. They carry machine guns. This is not for show. This is real firepower, and their loyalty is to Veneno. The match begins. The plan is standard. Flair retains the title, maybe by disqualification. Keep Veneno strong, but Flair keeps the belt. That is how territories work. But as the match goes on, Flair senses the mood. The crowd is getting dangerous. He realizes something. If he beats Veneno cleanly, the crowd will riot, and the soldiers will not protect him. They will join in. Mid-match, Flair makes a decision. He calls an audible, changes the finish. He allows Veneno to pin him. The referee counts 3. The crowd erupts in euphoria. Jack Veneno is declared the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. The belt is handed over. Flair leaves the ring as fast as possible, gets to the airport, gets out of the country. The problem is this. The NWA did not authorize the title change. Flair gave away the most prestigious belt in wrestling to save his life. The aftermath is a mess. Veneno refuses to return the belt, or the NWA refuses to recognize the reign. Accounts differ. To fix the narrative, they create a retcon. One version involves a man dressed as Santa Claus interfering. This voids the title change in NWA records. Another version says Veneno surrendered the belt because he did not want to leave the Dominican Republic to defend it worldwide. To this day, the NWA does not officially recognize Jack Veneno as champion, but in the Dominican Republic, he is forever the man who beat Ric Flair. Flair escaped with his passport and his life, but he did it by handing over the belt under duress. Epic story, yes, but it shows something else. When you live like a myth, you end up in real danger, with no way out except surrender. 13 years later, 1995, North Korea. This one is worse. World Championship Wrestling and New Japan Pro Wrestling organized Collision in Korea. 2 nights at Mayday Stadium in Pyongyang. The attendance numbers are staggering. 150,000 people the first night, 190,000 the second. Largest wrestling crowds in history. But this is not a wrestling event. This is a propaganda tool. The wrestlers land in Pyongyang. North Korean officials immediately confiscate their passports. Eric Bischoff recalls the moment. The official asked for passports. That is their way of saying, we control you. The wrestlers are separated into groups. Each group gets a minder. Handlers who watch them 24 hours a day, monitor conversations, monitor movements. Flair is a headliner, high-value propaganda target. Officials pressure him to make statements, denounce the United States, praise the great leader Kim Il-sung. Muhammad Ali is there too, boxing legend. Despite his Parkinson's disease, Ali shows flashes of defiance. He silently mocks the officials. Flair sees this, but Flair is terrified. He describes wrestling in front of 190,000 people as landing on Mars. The crowd sits in eerie silence. They only cheer when instructed. The atmosphere is dystopian. Flair eventually reads a statement, carefully worded, praises the beautiful country, praises the athleticism, avoids direct treason, just says enough to ensure safe departure. When they finally get on the plane to leave, Flair says it is the most relieved he has ever felt in his life. Another close call, another escape, but the pattern is clear. The legend takes him to dangerous places. Places where fame does not protect you, places where you are a hostage, not a star. Even backstage in WWE, it gets real. The conflict with Mick Foley proves that legends can be petty and pride can turn violent. 1999, Mick Foley publishes his autobiography, Have a Nice Day. In the book, Foley calls Flair a glorified stuntman. He criticizes Flair's booking skills during his time running WCW. Flair is furious. Flair views himself as a technical wrestler, a worker, a storyteller. Foley's style is jumping off cages, landing on thumbtacks, falling through tables. To Flair, that is stunt work. It degrades the art form. The grudge simmers for 5 years. 2004 WWE event, backstage catering area, neutral ground where wrestlers eat and relax. Foley approaches Flair. He wants to shake hands. He wants Flair to sign a book for charity. Simple gesture, professional courtesy. Flair refuses the handshake. The conversation escalates. Verbal sparring. Then Flair throws a punch, a real punch. Not a worked wrestling punch, a legitimate strike. Witnesses confirm it. Wrestler Al Snow is there. John Laurinaitis has to restrain Flair. Flair shouts that he will fight Foley in the ring or the parking lot. Says Foley is not in his league. The altercation is physical. It is ugly. These are two legends, both in their 50s. And they are brawling in the cafeteria over a book comment from 5 years earlier. WWE being WWE, they monetize the hatred. They book a feud in 2006, leading to an I Quit match at SummerSlam. Real animosity turned into storyline gold. Flair proves his own philosophy. Personal issues draw money, but it also proves something darker. Even at the top, even as legends, pride and ego can make you violent over petty slights. Now we return to August 2017. The hospital, the coma, the moment all of this catches up. During the coma, his mind breaks. The toxins in his blood, the withdrawal from alcohol. His brain creates hallucinations, vivid, terrifying. He describes being trapped in a giant Pac-Man structure, wired into a machine, unable to escape. But the worst hallucination involves his son. Reid Flair died in 2013, drug overdose. During the coma, Flair sees Reid. He tries to reach him, tries to get to him, but he cannot. He is stuck. Reid is just out of reach. Flair believes he is dead, believes he is in some kind of afterlife, but he cannot get to his son. When he wakes, his body is atrophied, muscles wasted. He has to learn to walk again, learn to hold a cup, learn basic tasks. The Nature Boy armor cracks. For the first time, Flair admits publicly the extent of his alcoholism. He admits the epic drinking stories were not myths. They were real, and they nearly killed him. The 146,000 drinks over 20 years, the 20 drinks per day, the 4,000 alcohol calories. All of it was slow suicide. The bill came due. The lifestyle that built the legend almost ended it. The plane crashes, the lightning strikes, the international hostage situations, the backstage brawls. None of those killed him. His own choices nearly did. Ric Flair is one of the most influential wrestlers in history. 16 world championships, cultural icon, referenced in hip-hop, quoted in locker rooms worldwide. His impact on the business is undeniable. His place in history is secure. The legend will outlive the man. But here is the truth that gets lost in the hype. Epic does not mean good. Legendary does not mean right. The stories are incredible. Surviving lightning, partying until limo drivers die, buying fur coats whilst blackout drunk, escaping military dictatorships. These tales get told and retold. They build the myth, but they also hide the cost. The man behind Flair died trying to keep up. The limo driver Dave worked 3 days straight and his heart gave out. The spending left Flair broke multiple times despite earning millions. The drinking destroyed his organs. The recklessness put him in rooms with machine guns and North Korean handlers. The pride made him throw punches at colleagues over book comments. And the 2017 collapse nearly killed him after decades of punishing his body. Many call it epic, the greatest of all time. woo. But the greatest opponent was never in the ring. The greatest opponent was mortality, statistical inevitability, the laws of biology and probability. And for 50 years, Flair gambled with those laws. He bet his life over and over. He kicked out at 2 every time, but he kept making the bets. And he kept dragging other people into the room when he rolled the dice. The myth lives on. The catchphrases, the strut, the figure 4 leg lock, the robes, the woo, all of it lives forever. Ric Flair will be remembered as long as wrestling exists. His influence is permanent. His legacy is secure. But the cost was too high. The wreckage was real. And the people who paid the price were not just Flair himself. They were the limo driver who died exhausted, the man struck by lightning on the tarmac, the wrestlers who learned the bar tab code, the family who stood by the hospital bed wondering if he would wake up, the son he hallucinated reaching for but could not touch. That is the real story, the one that does not get told in highlight reels or Hall of Fame speeches. The legend was built on survival. Yes, Flair survived the impossible again and again, but it was also built on reckless choices, selfish choices, destructive choices, choices that kept getting rewarded with championship belts and standing ovations whilst the bodies piled up in the background. Flair survived, but others did not, and that is what makes these stories more than epic. It makes them a warning carved in human cost. The Nature Boy was better than almost everyone in that ring. Nobody could touch his ability, his charisma, his mic work, but the lifestyle he lived, the code he taught, the example he set, that was not something to aspire to. That was something to survive, and not everyone did.